I remember the day I met Agent Collins vividly. It was a dark and stormy night. Cliché, I know, but it was. I was sitting in my office, sipping on a cup of coffee when he barged in, drenched from head to toe. "I need your help," he said, his voice hoarse. I looked up from my desk, surprised by his sudden appearance. "Who are you?" I asked. He flashed his badge, identifying himself as an FBI agent. "My name is Agent Collins," he said. "I need your help with a case." I stood up and offered him a chair. "What kind of case?" "It's a strange one," he said, taking a seat. "We've been investigating a series of disappearances that seem to be linked to paranormal activity." I raised an eyebrow. "Paranormal activity?" He nodded. "We think there might be a group of people out there with special abilities, and they're using them to kidnap innocent people." I listened as he explained the details of the case. It sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. But as he spoke, I could see the seriousness in his eyes. He truly believed what he was saying. Over the next few weeks, I worked closely with Agent Collins on the case. We visited crime scenes, interviewed witnesses, and pored over files and data. It was grueling work, but we were making progress. One night, after a particularly long day, Agent Collins invited me back to his hotel room for a drink. I hesitated for a moment, but curiosity got the best of me, and I agreed. As we sat in his room, sipping on whiskey, he began to open up to me. "You know," he said, "this case is personal for me." I raised an eyebrow. "Personal? How so?" He took a sip of his drink before continuing. "My sister was one of the people who disappeared. I've been searching for her for years, and I think this case might finally lead me to her." I could see the pain in his eyes, and I felt a pang of sympathy for him. "I'm sorry," I said. "I had no idea." He shook his head. "It's all right. I don't talk about it much. But I wanted you to know why I'm so invested in this case. I need to find her." Over the next few weeks, our investigation took us all over the country. We followed leads, talked to psychics and mediums, and even delved into some of the more obscure areas of science. It wasn't until we stumbled upon an underground bunker in the middle of the desert that we finally found what we were looking for. Inside the bunker, we found a group of people who possessed incredible abilities. They could read minds, move objects with their thoughts, and even control the elements, and they were using their abilities to kidnap innocent people and experiment on them. But as we tried to apprehend the group, things took a turn for the worse. They fought back with their abilities, and we found ourselves outnumbered and outmatched. Just when it seemed like all was lost, Agent Collins stepped forward. I watched in awe as he summoned an energy field around himself, deflecting the attacks of the group. With a wave of his hand, he incapacitated them, and we were able to apprehend them without any further incident. As we left the bunker, I turned to Agent Collins. "How did you do that?" I asked. He smiled. "It's a long story," he said, "but let's just say that my sister wasn't the only one who disappeared all those years ago. I did too. And that's when I realized that Agent Collins was one of the people with special abilities that we had been searching for. He had been keeping his abilities hidden from the rest of the world, working undercover for the FBI to try and stop those who would misuse their powers. "I've been trying to keep my abilities a secret," he said, "but I couldn't sit back and watch as innocent people were being taken and experimented on. I had to do something." I was stunned. I had never heard of anyone with abilities like his before, but Agent Collins seemed to take it all in stride as if it was just another day at the office. Over the next few months, Agent Collins continued to work on the case, and we were able to bring down the entire organization behind the kidnappings. We freed the people who had been taken, and we were even able to reunite Agent Collins with his long-lost sister. But despite all of our success, Agent Collins knew that he couldn't keep his abilities a secret forever. He decided to come forward, to reveal the truth about what had happened, and to help others who might be struggling with their own abilities. And so he did. He spoke to the press, telling his story and urging others to come forward if they had similar experiences. It was a risky move, but it paid off in the end. People began to open up, sharing their own stories of paranormal experiences and abilities. Looking back on it now, it all seems like a dream. But I know that it was real. I know that there are people out there with abilities beyond our wildest imaginations, and I know that there are those who will try to use those abilities for their own gain. But I also know that there are people like Agent Collins, people who will stand up for what's right no matter the cost, and that's what makes all the difference. After Agent Collins came forward about his abilities, he quickly became a celebrity of sorts. People were fascinated by his story, and he was invited to speak at conferences and events all over the world. But despite all of the attention, he remained humble and focused on his mission. He continued to work with the FBI, helping to identify and track down others with abilities who might be a danger to society. Over time, he became a beacon of hope for those with abilities, showing them that they didn't have to hide in the shadows or be afraid of their own powers. He worked tirelessly to create a network of support for these individuals, connecting them with resources and communities where they could learn to control their abilities and use them for good. And through it all, I was there to witness it. I saw firsthand the incredible things that Agent Collins was capable of, and I watched as he changed the lives of countless individuals for the better. Years have passed since those dark and stormy nights when Agent Collins first walked into my office, but I still think about him often. He was a true hero, a man who put his own safety on the line to protect others and fight for what was right. And although he's no longer with us, his legacy lives on. His story continues to inspire people all over the world, and his message of hope and courage still resonates with those who have been touched by his remarkable journey. In the end, I'm honored to have been a part of his story, to have worked alongside him, and to have witnessed his incredible abilities firsthand. And I know that wherever he is now, he's still fighting the good fight, using his powers to make the world a better place. I was a junior FBI agent, fresh out of training and eager to prove myself. So when I was assigned to work with Agent Johnson, one of the most respected and experienced agents in the Bureau, I jumped at the chance. Our assignment was to investigate a series of seemingly unrelated political scandals that had been rocking the country for months. The media was having a field day, speculating about corruption at the highest levels of government. But as Agent Johnson and I began digging deeper, we quickly realized that there was something much more sinister going on. There were too many coincidences, too many connections between the different scandals, and then we found the evidence. It was buried deep in the archives, hidden away in a file that had been locked and sealed for years, but somehow, someone had managed to get to it. The evidence was shocking. It revealed a conspiracy that went all the way to the top of the U.S. government, involving some of the most powerful people in the country. They had been using their positions of authority to manipulate the political system, rigging elections and making secret deals that benefited themselves and their friends. It was the kind of scandal that could bring down an entire administration, and we knew that we had to act fast. But we also knew that we couldn't trust anyone in the government. We had to keep our investigation completely secret, working under the radar and gathering as much evidence as we could. It wasn't easy. We had to be careful, watching our backs at all times and constantly staying one step ahead of those who were trying to stop us. But we were determined to get to the bottom of the conspiracy and expose the truth. And then one night, everything changed. We were working late in our office, poring over files and trying to connect the dots, when Agent Johnson suddenly froze. His eyes went wide and he muttered something under his breath. I looked at him, concerned. "What's wrong?" He shook his head. "Nothing. It's nothing. I'm just tired." But I knew better. Agent Johnson was one of the most composed and professional agents I had ever worked with, and I could tell that something was seriously wrong. And then I saw it. A shadowy figure appeared in the corner of the room, its features indistinct and blurred. I didn't know what to do. I had never seen anything like this before, but Agent Johnson seemed to know exactly what was happening. He stood up, his face set in determination. "It's time," he said. "We have to reveal the truth." And with that, he pulled out a flash drive and handed it to me. "This has everything we need to expose the conspiracy. Take it and get out of here. Go to the press. Tell them everything." I hesitated. "What about you? Aren't you coming?" But Agent Johnson just smiled sadly. "I'm not going to make it. They're here. They know we've found them." And then he was gone, fading away into the shadows. I was left alone, holding the flash drive and wondering what had just happened. But I knew what I had to do. I had to get out of there, find a way to get this information to the public. And so I did. I ran out of the office, heart pounding, and made my way to the nearest news station. The rest is history. The information on that flash drive was enough to bring down the entire conspiracy, exposing the corruption and lies that had been hidden for so long. And although Agent Johnson was never found, his sacrifice was not in vain. I'll never forget that night, or the incredible paranormal experience that I witnessed. But most of all, I'll never forget Agent Johnson and the incredible bravery and dedication he showed in the face of danger. He knew the risks involved in investigating this conspiracy, and he was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that the truth was revealed. After that night, I was never the same. I had seen things that I couldn't explain, and I had uncovered secrets that shook me to my core. But I also knew that I had a responsibility to continue the work that Agent Johnson had started. In the years that followed, I worked tirelessly to expose corruption and shine a light on the dark underbelly of U.S. politics. And although I never forgot about that paranormal experience, I also knew that it was just one part of a much larger story. Today I look back on that time with a mix of nostalgia and pride. I nostalgia for the incredible bond that I formed with Agent Johnson, and pride for the work that we did together. And although I never saw him again, I know that his legacy lives on in the work that I and other agents continue to do today. In the end, it was the bravery and determination of one man that made all the difference. And although the paranormal elements of our investigation will always remain a mystery, the impact that we had on U.S. politics is clear. The truth was revealed and justice was served. I am an FBI agent with years of experience working on some of the most challenging cases. I was part of a team tasked with investigating a series of bizarre and unexplained events that had occurred in several parks across the country. Our mission was to find out what was behind these mysterious occurrences and to put an end to them if possible. At first, we assumed that the cases we were investigating were due to human activity, such as serial killers or kidnappers. However, as we delved deeper into each case, we realized that there was something far more sinister at work. We began to receive reports of strange creatures, ghostly apparitions, and inexplicable phenomena that defied explanation. There were sightings of large bipedal creatures with glowing eyes, shadowy figures that moved with otherworldly grace, and even spectral apparitions of people who had long since passed away. One of the most disturbing cases we investigated involved a family that had gone missing in Yosemite National Park. The family consisted of a father, a mother, and 2 young children who had set out on a hiking trip one morning and never returned. The search and rescue operation that followed yielded no results, and the family was never found. However, several hikers in the area reported seeing a large, hairy creature with glowing eyes around the time of the family's disappearance. Some witnesses claimed that the creature was a Sasquatch or Bigfoot, while others described it as a strange humanoid being that seemed to disappear into thin air. Similar cases had been reported in other national parks, and the incidents seemed to be escalating. As we continued our investigation, we discovered that park rangers and officials had also witnessed these strange occurrences. They reported hearing disembodied voices, feeling an eerie presence, and even seeing objects move on their own. One park ranger who had been on duty in the Grand Canyon reported seeing a shadowy figure that seemed to glide with otherworldly grace. The ranger could not explain what the figure was or where it had come from, but it had left him with a feeling of intense fear and unease. Another ranger in Yellowstone National Park reported seeing a spectral apparition of a woman in white who appeared out of nowhere and then vanished into thin air. This incident left the ranger shaken and convinced that there was more to the parks than anyone had ever suspected. We also received reports from visitors to the parks who claimed to have had strange encounters. Some described feeling a sense of unease or dread in certain areas, while others claimed to have seen strange creatures or heard disembodied voices. As we continued our investigation, we realized that we were dealing with something that was beyond our understanding. We consulted with paranormal experts who had their own theories about what was happening. Some believed that the parks were portals to other dimensions, while others thought that we were dealing with extraterrestrial beings or supernatural entities. Despite our efforts, we were never able to fully explain the strange occurrences that had been reported in our national parks. The government never publicly acknowledged our investigation, and the cases we worked on were quietly closed and filed away. However, the experiences we had left an indelible mark on us, and we knew that there were still things out there that defied explanation. I have seen the best and the worst of humanity, but nothing quite prepared me for the strange things I encountered during my investigations in the national parks. However, we should also be aware that there are mysterious and unexplained phenomena that occur within them. These occurrences may be frightening and challenging to comprehend, but they should not discourage us from exploring and enjoying the parks. Instead, we should approach them with an open mind and a willingness to learn. We should respect the power and majesty of the natural world while acknowledging that there may be other forces at work that are beyond our understanding. As for the FBI's investigation into these paranormal incidents, we may never know the full extent of what we uncovered. The government's silence on the matter speaks volumes, and it is clear that there are some things that are best left unknown. However, I can say with certainty that the experiences I had during my time investigating these strange and terrifying occurrences will stay with me for the rest of my life. They have made me a believer in the paranormal and have opened my eyes to the possibility that there may be more to our world than we can ever truly comprehend. I can only hope that others who encounter these inexplicable phenoms in our national parks will have the courage to come forward and share their stories. Perhaps one day we will be able to unravel the mysteries that lie within these breathtaking natural wonders and truly understand the scope of the supernatural forces at work.